What? When I said this is gonna be a 22-part series, y'all didn't take me serious. You thought when you kept sending me all these links, all these PDFs, that I would not continue? Oh man, we continuing, man. This is part 14. Wakey, wakey. El Prester, Juan, John, Abyssinia, Abyssinios, I'll be seeing you. Prester John, we on your ass, man. I love y'all, man. Love y'all, man. All right. I'm just getting settled. You know, it's beautiful, man. Every night, man. Every day you get to, be with those you love, man. Every night I kiss all four of my beautiful ones, man. My beautiful babies. I put them down. They sleep, and I'm like, wow, I did something right. All praise the Creator for that moment of seeing them at peace. So, we keep it real around here. This is what it's all about. All right. Y'all ready? This one right here, I'm just gonna go. You already know. But it's so smooth, you ain't even gotta get too tense. Relax. Relax. You came here to relax. And while you relax, while you grab a little bit of that relaxation, let's just have a conversation as grown folk about our people. Let's see a little more about our people. Now again, love to drop nation, because you keep me supplied. You are my supplier. I have a virtual research team. They are everywhere across the planet. So, love to all y'all. All right. We're going to start right here. Let's get back to this African Prester John and the birth of Ethiopian-European relations, 1402, by Matteo Salvadore. All right. You see, I'm just going right in, right? So, this is your first time. Enjoy. That's all you can do. Enjoy. All right, we talk about India, Prester in Asia, Prester India. They're looking for Prester, they're looking for Ethiopia, Abyssinia. These Indies is India. Remember right quick from Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, Ronald Sanders. I just want to go right here to the small print. For less mysterious, more valid definitions of the three Indias among medieval geographers, but for Europeans, even learned Europeans, the term Indias covered a vast and distant region of dark-skinned peoples. I hope y'all can see that. I know it's the small print. Sometimes you gotta read small. You gotta read small sometimes, I say. Get your small reading on. The three Indias. So we keep hearing India. So I just want to keep bringing y'all back to when you get India. You don't think of what you currently think of. Oh, that person's from India. They're Hindu this or Hindu that or this, that, and this, that. All this stuff is ancient melanin. And when I say ancient melanin, I'm just talking Prester John. I'm talking about what this book here calls the last noble image of the Negro. It is no play. So here we're talking about the three Indias. The three Indias, not one, not two, but three. Alright, so this term India, to even learned Europeans, it was a term that covered a vast and distant region of dark-skinned people. So they were calling everybody dark-skinned, Ethiopian or Abyssinian or Indian. They were calling you that. It just covered a vast region of you people. It wasn't your identity. Your identity was not Indian, Abyssinian, or Ethiopian. Culminating in a countless array of islands in one direction and Ethiopia, the biblical Kush, in the other. So let's get that again. This term India, the three Indias. To even learn European, but for most Europeans, even learned ones, the term covered a vast and distant region of dark-skinned people, culminating in a countless array of islands in one direction, and Ethiopia, what they call the biblical Kush, in the other direction. So in one direction was a countless array of islands filled with dark-skinned people. This is your reality. Wake up. In this direction, so you got one obviously going west and east, right? In the east, they have the Ethiopia, the biblical Kush, what they're calling in so-called Africa. Although we have maps that have the original Kush here. Now, one direction has these countless array of islands of dark-skinned people they're calling Indias, and he's called Prester John of the three Indias. They also call it Abyssinios, which predated the Ethiopian. And Abyssinio, when we look it up in etymology, it just came down to a race, a mixed multitude. A mixed multitude. So how do you take this mixed multitude? What's going on in this Abyssinius? Now, one of our family, man, you know what I'm saying, hit us with this link. Love to the family. All right. We're going to read it from here. Let's get it a little bigger for all the nation. Okay. The relocation, right here, the relocation was the byproduct of facts, hearsay, and conjectures that between the 13th and 14th century. So I'm not going to go there again on this part about the timelines, but go back to the previous parts and the whole ancient knowledge timeline, true chronology series is going on. We're in part 2 of that. We have multiple series going on here at the drop. This is what we do, and this is how we do. This is easy work. It's easy. It's easy, man, when the Most High has you on the path. And your path right now, my people, is to see. So let's cut through the bullshit. Let's get the babies out. The relocation was the byproduct of facts, hearsay, and conjectures that between the 13th and 14th centuries reshaped the discourse on what lay beyond the familiar confines of the Middle East. On the other hand, starting in the mid-13th century, missionaries dispatched to the Far East to the Mongol court in Karakorum. Now, this Mongol situation again, and we're going to get into it a little more. Hopefully, we have time today. This Mongol is just a code word for other melanated people, and some of them are, you know, of this tribe of Tartars, or this tribe of this, and this tribe of that, and they seem to hide us in this Mongol term. And this is what we're discovering: is Mongol is not just one thing, one image. On the other hand, starting in the mid-century, missionaries dispatched to the Far East, the Mongol court in Karakorum brought back no evidence of Asian Prester. So then they started looking for African Prester. But as we have read in other documents, they found really no evidence there either. So we're realizing that they just found, when we talk about the Garden of Eden and all these mythical, all that stuff is west. All that stuff is what they discovered here of what was already here. This is what we're building to. We pull up our links and documents about the River Euphrates in America. All these, you know, the Grand Canyon, all the Atlantis drop, all that is here. So that's not crazy when we understand that this Atlas, this plural form of Atlas, Atlantis, is multiple islands of what? multiple islands of what? Dark-skinned people. Let's go. So, on the other hand, a new discourse of an African Prester John. So, we're getting closer, right? We know that this is a hijacked terminology. Began to emerge in connection with the Holy Land. So the discourse, the talk about Prester John, all right, dodge the hijack. All right, the talk about Prester John began to emerge in connection with the Holy Land. For example, upon returning from his pilgrimage to Jerusalem in 1335, the Italian pilgrim Jacopo da Varano related that they, he's talking about the Holy Land, right? They are black Ethiopians from among the people of Prester John. Now, it takes our research to understand that Ethiopian and Ethiopia, all these are Greek hijack words referring to what? Dark-skinned people. India's, Ethiopia's, all that is one general terminology. Ethiopian, Abyssinian, Indian, India's, all relates to dark-skinned people in a countless array of islands in one direction. And what they're calling now Ethiopia, what they're saying is in both directions, it's you. And we're going to prove that. We're going to get that. We're going to go back into Georgia and these Russia, Georgian situation, the kingdom of Georgia. And how we were rocking out, man, and how they just took us down both directions. But they had help from other melanated people. They had so much help from our melanated family that did treaties on us in both directions. One has to wonder who is really in power today. And does the person that is really in power look just like you, Negro? And is somebody else a straw man? Is somebody else managing corporations? Let's go back. They are black Ethiopians from among the people of Prester John. These are all separate substantiating sources backing up this black Prester John. El Prester John Juan, Emperado de los Abyssinios, Abyssinia, mixed multitude. All right, we gotta go fast because we got some great drop coming up, man. Let's go. All right, so they are the black Ethiopians from among the people of Prester John, who was one of the great princes in the world, or kings in the world. Lebna Dango Dawit, right? David, those Nubians sing for the whole day. So now they're Nubians. And the whole night. They concentrate fermented bread. They always carry, as I have said, a cross in their hand. All right, so he's putting the cross in their hand. We're going to get more into this cross. Because this cross didn't start with Christianity. This cross didn't start to do nothing with Christ at all. When you really think about what a cross is, you're talking about X. X marks the spot. Just like the swastika and the melanated Nazi drop, these symbolic joints have they've been added and conjectured on, you know what I'm saying, to a point where we think serpent, we think one thing, we think cross, we think one thing. All this stuff is ancient knowledge, and we need to get back into our perspective so we can truly know that we got the babies out the bathwater. So, all right, fine, you put a cross in his hand. All right, even in the presence of the Sultan and the presence of the Saracens, and they pay no tribute through the entire land of the Sultan. So they got the drop. Also, however, often the scepter of Christ is open. All right, so dodge the hijack. Let's keep going. They enter without paying money or tribute. And the reason for this is that Prester John, the Lord of Nubia and Ethiopia, has the potential within his own realm to divert the Nile River. Okay. When I say dodge the hijack, man, look, they had to keep injecting Christ. They had to make him somebody they loved. They had to bring him to them. They had to connect themselves with Israelites, with King David, with King Solomon. They made them all Christians. They're all about Christ to them. So when you see it, man, it's a conscious effort so that they feel comfortable thinking they got a buddy to fight against who? The Saracens, the Sultans, the Moors, everyone who's kicking their ass. But when they're hearing about this priest John or King David, he's whooping up on all Median and the Medes and everybody. So they say, yeah, we need this guy on our side. Even in the Netflix series Marco Polo, like my brother Emmanuel Hezekiah brought out, and a few other family brought out before that, they're bringing up Prester John, and the Pope is trying to connect to this Prester John, and you see the deference they got for this Prester John. This Prester John. So they knew they were uniting with this black noble character. They knew he was copper color, but they still needed him to fight against the other copper colors. They knew the tribes they were trying to recruit. This is your real drop. All right. So here's the drop. He has the potential within his own realm to divert the Nile River. So think King Solomon, think King David, think timelines. Okay, it all plays. I gotta keep that on the table. Now with King Solomon, with all his wisdom and, control over all these energies, have the power to divert the Nile River, that doesn't seem like it's out of Solomon's grasp if he has power over all these energies. If that land did not receive this river, it would be wholly uninhabitable, as evidently it is the case for all of Egypt. So all of Egypt is uninhabitable. And similarly, Prester John is more powerful than the Sultan. Prester John is more powerful than the Sultan. All right. Now remember this tie. We're going to get right back to it. But, this is back in the land of Prester John. And this is where we got out of it that they also called him Lebna Dango DeWitt. Or they simplified it to David or young David. From his alleged ancestry, they say. All right. Now you see them calling him right here, Alexander. Alexander. Lion of Judah. King of Kings. Well, that sounds like King David. And they're calling him David. So this King David, they're also calling Alexander, Lion of Judah, King of Kings. We also hear him called Wang Kong, which Wang means prince. W-A-N-G. Wang means prince. Khan. These are all titles. King, Judah, Lion, Alexander, Prester Priest, Prester Priest, El Preste Juan, Priest John, Priest King. This is not play, man. All right. Let's go. That's just the intro. Now, we are in this is the travels, let's see if it says it here. All right, let's go back. This is the travels of Sir John Mandeville. So you're going to hear this traveler, Sir John Mandeville, pop up a lot. We're going to start weaving this stuff together. We're going to dodge lots of hijacks. We're going to go back to stuff. We're going to re-examine if this is a hijack, if that's a hijack. We're going to put it all on the table. Test all things. Test all spirits. With foundation, right? With foundation. I just want to go right here, man. Cause this shit crazy. I'm just gonna read. I'm just gonna read. Cause I want to talk about this now. Some other stuff, man. And I mean, let's just get that one more time. And he has the potential within his own realm to divert the Nile River. Okay. The statement, the oldest extent reference. Let me, it's freezing on me. All right. The statement, the oldest extant reference to an African Prester John, goes hand in hand with Angelios do Circe 1339 Portolan chart, also known as Dalorto. The Majorcan mapmaker stopped short of including the Prester and his kingdom, but referred to him in one of his charts legends, which explains that the Saracens of Nubia referred to him in one of the charts legends, which explains the Saracens of Nubia, Saracen Norum, were at war with the Christians of Nubia. Okay. So they're calling them Christians, right? But it's turning out that these are actually Israelites. And that is the hoax. That's the rump. Right? So when we research these Christians of Nubia, they're called Nestorian Christians, and that got nothing to do with Christianity. As in our etymology, it says Nestor, old king renowned for wise counsel, wisdom, old king renowned for wisdom. We're back to Solomon again, who is not a Christian. But they keep telling us they need him to be a Christian, right? Saracens of Nubia were at war with the Israelites, but let's keep going, in Ethiopia and in the dominion of Prester John. Both references are symptomatic of a paradigm shift or time shift, that over time turned the Prester into an African sovereign to be identified with the Christian rule of Ethiopia. All right, let's go down. All right. So the family said to Google is King Vadamoradeg. Let's say that again. Vadamoradeg. I say, is that another name for Prester John? Another name? Do we need another name? We've heard him called the Great Khan, Ong Kong, Wong Kong, Genghis Khan. We've heard him called all these things. We heard him called King David many of times. Lebna Dangle DeWeet, Raja Haraja Chola, Jadaran, Alexander, Mansa Musa. Now we got Vado Marade. Let's go back a little bit. All right. However, an oblique reference to the party found in a different document indicates that at some point during their journey, the monks shared the name of their sovereign with some of their interlocutors in the apocryphal letter by Prester John to the Holy Roman Emperor Charles IV. All right, look at the dates, 1316. From around 1370, among many elements born out of the European imagination, one finds references to the Ethiopian passage through Genoa. Prester John relates that at other times we sent you an embassy and we did not receive any answer, and more important, refers to himself as your brother King Vadomarade. So this is what it says according to this document here. Another 13th century, 14th century. Now remember in our timeline drop, where they say that most of our history has been projected back. So they say, okay, well, the real documents are actually in what's called these medieval times, 1300s, 1400s, 1200s. And then they projected them back and back under different titles and names and places. So let's go. All right, so you got this Prester John, you got this King Vadomarade, who apparently got the drop on the Nile River. All right. Son of the most excellent king of Ethiopia. The document, like the more famous letter, Prester John, combined fiction with reality. Okay. I mean, that's just their observation that it's fiction. How do they know? Did they prove it? Facts with hearsay and sheer invention. How do they know? However, that's how you know this is by a hijack, because who else is going to call it fiction if they have not proven or have not even specified what they mean or what element they're talking about of the letter? So fiction is just, a general thing to kind of mess you up, you know what I mean? But reality, all right? Facts with hearsay and sheer invention. However, although the reference to a previous embassy could be sheer invention rather than a reference to Carignanos interlocutors, the name Vadomarade happens to be surprisingly similar to that of the Ethiopian sovereign at the time of Carignanos' embassy. All right, Wadem Arad. Hence, one can speculate that the visitors from Genoa, shared more with the Carignano and other interlocutors than Foresti convoys and some of the information found in its way into apocryphal letter. Now check it. Jacopo da Verona seems to have been the first author not only to locate Prester in Africa, all right, let's keep going, but also to entertain a belief he had heard in the Holy Land that Prester had power over the source of the Nile. This is the drop. Because we know he was never located in what they're calling Ethiopia today. His kingdom is nowhere to be found. But they had to, stick it somewhere. Then they just ended up, kept dropping it off as myths, right? Until it starts popping up with this Eden and this situation over here. And the only way it really starts to become relevant, let's go ahead a little bit. Oh, yeah. We're just talking about Prester John. Enter Columbus. We need to go back there because there's a lot of drop in chapter 6. And we read it before, but we need some more. One more chapter back here. All these chapters are worth, man. All separate drops, man. So look out for them, man. They're coming. All right, Columbus's golden world, they said. The golden world. Now here's what God is thinking about Prester John over here. Drops like this. Now remember this Torres, this Hebrew convert, a convert. All right. First they called him an Israelite. He's said to have known Hebrew, Aramaic, and all that. One of the purposes of the voyage, as we have seen, was to find the great Khan. The great Khan. Wang Khan, An Khan. We're going to also hear him called again Genghis Khan. And Torres, the interpreter who spoke Hebrew, was to be the mouthpiece. The mouthpiece for this encounter, presumably on the basis of his Hebrew. Perhaps Columbus and his supporters had decided that the great Khan, reported on by Marco Polo, and others might be the Israelite king who dwelt across the river from Prester John. So Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter looking for the great Khan, who he thought was the Israelite king right across the river from Prester John. So clearly, this scholar is putting the Prester John and Genghis Khan or the Great Khan or Wang Khan, all of that over here. And that's why he brought his Hebrew interpreter to speak Hebrew to Prester John in it. And we're going to get into some Hebrew and, some Prester John and more about the Prester John letters. We'll get more back into the Voynich manuscript. And all the drop that is indecipherable drop. These cryptographers cannot figure simple, this drop that was put out, all this nature that was put out in the Voynich manuscript. This document is held in Yale University and it has not been deciphered, and it is going back to Prester John. So Prester John got a document that is indecipherable, that is uncodable. This shit can't be broken. But maybe it can be broken by you, right? Maybe Prester John left something for you, right? That's always possible. Let's get back to this, man. I'm just gonna start going. And you let me know when to stop, man. Just say drop stop. I don't want no more. Because we're gonna get into something very interesting. Now you heard this Alexander, remember. He visited Jeddah. All that. Now, at last, 1494, he said he reached the court of Prester John. So this is 1494. Alexander, Lion of Judah, King of Kings, received the foreigners with open arms. So this is 1494, people. When did Columbus come? What's really going on? In other words, you just got defeated, invaded. Columbus took his Hebrew people here. Why? Because the people spoke Hebrew here, or Columbus would not need Torres on the basis of his Hebrew. Perhaps Columbus and his supporters had decided that the Great Khan, reported on by Marco Polo and others, might be the Israelite king. Columbus brought a Hebrew interpreter for the Israelite king that he figured was here, which means there was an Israelite kingdom here that has something to do with this Prester John. What? What are you saying? What does it mean? All right, man, come on. And this Prester John has the power over the source of the Nile? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Of the goodness. So this is chapter 32. Of the goodness. I know it's a little small, but just bear with me. I'll make sure it's clearly visible for everybody. All right, we're good. We're good. We're only 30 minutes in, man, but we've already gotten so deep in the drive. Let's get back. Let's get back. Back to business. Okay. Y'all go get some water for this. Let's go. That was a 30-minute intro. Oh, all praise. Hey. For creating this wave of making knowledge and information and wisdom a great thing and fun and easy for us. Thank you for making it easy. Something that's been sealed for so long. Thank you for making Daniel 12 manifest. Let's go. So this is after the travels of Sir John of Mandeville. Chapter 32 of the goodness of the folk of the Isle of Brogman of King Alexander, and wherefore the emperor of the India, end is India, is clept Prester John. Alexander, Lion of Judah, King of Kings, Prester John. Separate sources, my people. Substantiating, corroborating. Of the goodness of the folk of the Isle of Brogman. So that's another drop. Please, someone start digging on it before I do. Isle of Brogman of King Alexander, and wherefore the emperor of India's right, is clept Prester John. Remember, you're in the third India, the three Indias, right? And beyond that isle is another isle, island, another island, great and good and plenteous, where that be good folk and true, and of good living after their belief, and of good faith. And albeit that they be not Christian, nay, have no perfect law, yet none less of kindly law, they be full of all virtue, and they eschew all vices, and all malices, and all sins. For they be not proud, not covetous, not envious. So here's these people who aren't Christians. So they're saying that this hijack is saying, well, their law is not perfect. This Sir John Mandeville is like, well, they're not Christians. They don't have our perfect law because we are the perfection of law. However, they seem to be in order. They seem to have a natural order. For they be not proud, not covetous, nor envious, nor wrath, nor gluttonous, nor lecherous. Nay, they do to any man otherwise than they would that other man did to them. Listen up. I can't make this shit up. And in this point, they fulfill 10 commandments of God. So these people are keeping the commandments. Oh, but they don't have no perfect law. Do you see this shit? John Mandeville, I should slap the shit. All right. All right, here we go. Had to take a little water break. Because when you see 10 Commandments and you hear about this island of Brogman and this connection to King Alexander, the emperor of India, called Prester John, that makes you take a sip of water because you're getting the pure water. So again, they do to any man otherwise with that other man did to them. And in this point, they fulfill the 10 commandments of God and give no charge of war, nay, of riches. So they don't care about riches and shit. And they lie not, they don't lie. They swear not for none occasion, but they say simply yea and nay, for they say, he that sweareth will deceive his neighbor, and therefore all that they do it without oath. So when they say swear, they're not talking about, oh shit. They're talking about swearing like, saying that swear to me, swear your life on an oath of da 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 da. Swear to this and swear on this and swear on that. That's what they mean by swearing, He that sweareth will deceive his neighbor, and therefore all that they do it without the oath. So fuck, shit, damn is not swearing, okay? Swearing has to do with a vibration and oath. And men clept that island the Isle of Brogman. Clept means called. So men called that island the island or Isle of Brogman. And some men clept it the land of faith. Interesting. And through that land runneth a great river that is clept or called Thebe. And in general, all the men of those islands or isles, and all the marches thereabout, be more true than in any other countries thereabout, and more rightful than others in all things. In that isle is no thief, no murderer, no common woman, no poor beggar, nay, never was man slain in that country. No killing. Interesting. This sounds like the same type of Eden, Prester John kingdom that he talked about in the letter of 1165. And they be so chaste and lead so good life as that they were religious men, but they're not religious, right? They just keep the commandments. When we say we're going to rock our commandments, people think religious. Oh, that's religion. This traveler, Sir John Mandeville, said, yeah, they're not religious. I mean, they're not Christians at all, but they do rock the commandments. Your commandments are in stone here. Los Lunas, New Mexico, here. Let's go. And because that be so true and rightful and so full of good conditions, they were never grieved with tempest, nay, with thunder, nay, with light, nay, with hail, nay, with pestilence, nay, with war. They don't have none of this shit. Nay, with hunger, nay, with none other tribulation, as we be many times amongst us for our sins. So this Sir John Mandeville knows that they're going through the Black Plague and some like nuclear ice, age thing and some all kinds of shit for their sins. Egypt is no more for its sins. You are no more for your sin. Yet we remain. Wherefore it seemeth well that God loveth them and is pleased with their creance for their good deeds. So when they found you, Negro, they said, God loves these people. These are God's chosen. Clearly. They believe well in God. They're not atheists. They believe well in God that made all things, and him that worship, and him they worship. So they just worship the creator that made all things. When we say we're going home to the creator of our trees, we're just saying we're going back home to the energy, the source that created us. It's time. They believe well in God that made all things, but they're not Christians, right? And him that worship, and him they worship, and they prize none earthly riches, and so they be all rightful, and they live full ordinately, and so soberly in meat and drink, that they live right long. So they live soberly in meat, meaning what? That if you're sober of meat, that means you're free of meat. And like drink, all that moonshine, right? That they live right long, and the most part of them die without sickness when nature felleth them for elder, you get it? Now here we go. And it befell buckle up. I told you to drink your water. And it befell in King Alexander's time that he proposed him to conquer that isle or island, and to make them to hold of him. So it befell in King Alexander's time that he proposed to him to conquer. Now, let's see. So when it says he proposed to him, I want to make sure I know who the him, but let's keep reading. Reading this with y'all, so, if you see something, leave it in the comment. Let me know. And when King Alexander had read these letters, let's go back. And it befell in King Alexander's time that he proposed him to conquer the isle and to make them to hold of him. And when they of the country heard it, they sent messengers to him with letters that said thus, we may be enough to that man to whom all the world is sufficient. What may be enough to that man to whom all the world is insufficient? Thou shalt find nothing in us that may cause thee to war against us. For we have no riches, for none we covet, and all the goods of our country being common. Our meat that we sustain with all our bodies is our riches, and instead of treasure of gold and silver, we make our treasure of accord and peace, and for to love every man another, and for to apparel with our bodies we use a silly little clout for to wrap in our carrier. Our wives, nay, be not arrayed for to make no man pleasance, but only convenable array for to show folly. When men pain them to array the body for to make it seem fairer than God made it, they do great sin. For man should not devise, nay, ask greater beauty than God had ordained man to be at his birth. The earth ministereth to us two things, our livelihood that cometh of the earth that we live by, and our sepulture after our death. We have been in perpetual peace till now. So you're telling them, man, we've been in perpetual peace till now, till we saw this hijack, that thou come to disinherit us. To disinherit, to take your heritage. And also we have a king, not only for to do justice to every man, for he shall find no forfeit among us. But, so they have a king. So these people have a king. So who's their king? And also we have a king, not only for to do justice to every man, for he shall find no forfeit among us, but for to keep noblesse, and for to show that we be obscent. We have a king for justice, nay, hath not among us no place. For we do to no man otherwise we desire that man do to us, so that righteousness, nay, vengeance, have not to do among us, so that nothing thou may take from us be our good peace, that always hath endured among us. And when King Alexander had read these letters, he thought that he should do great sin for to trouble them, and that he sent them sureties. And then he sent them sureties, that they should not be afraid of him, and that they should keep their good manners and good peace, and they, as they had used before of custom, and so he let them alone. So this King Alexander read these letters from these people, and he thought he thought that he should do great sin for to trouble them. And then he sent them sureties that, it's all good. So another island there is that man clept are called Oxydrite, and another owl that men clap Genosophy, where there's also good folk. So look at all these good folk that's rocking the commandments all over the place. This particular King Alexander calling, right? He said, man, it's all good, man, you know. I ain't trying to do you no harm. All right. So let's check it down here. Into that owl entered King Alexander to see the matter. And when he saw their great faith and their truth that was among them, he said that he would not grieve them, and bade them ask of him what that they would have of him, riches or anything else, and they should have it with good will. And they had answered that he was rich enough, that had meat and drink to sustain the body with, for the riches of this world that is transitory is not worth, but if it were in his power to make them immortal, oh, whoa, should I say it again? Whoa. All right. So we're talking about King Alexander. Remember, Alexander had the connection to the fountain of youth, Alexander the Great. Prester John has this connection to the fountain of youth. Kid me not. Is this play? Do I just have this up because I just like having up fountain of youth links? Or do I have it up because the Most High has sequenced these events so beautifully, man? All praise, hey. Did a black man discover the fountain of youth? There's another one of those things that they just don't tell us. Get bits of information about the order of things were systematically being withheld from black people. At the top of my own eye. So we got Marco Polo, Fountain of Youth, Ethiopia, Abyssinia. While most of us associate the Fountain of Perpetual Youth with the New World, especially Florida, that has been the case for 500 years, for the longest stretch of history, actually dating all the way back to the 5th century BC. It's believed its home was Ethiopia. Right. Now, as we go into this Ethiopia drop, and this timeline drop, and this map changing drop, I just like to focus right here for a second. While most of us associate the fountain of perpetual youth with the New World, let's just stop for a second. Especially Florida. Let's just stop for a second. Because when I hear fountain of youth, I don't associate it with Florida. Do you? Fountain of youth. Does your mind say Florida? 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 Now they're going to go to Ethiopia on you. But now that you understand that this emperor of Abyssinia, Ethiopia, is associated with this great Khan, and Columbus himself brought Hebrew interpreters to speak and have an encounter with him, that he might be the Israelite king who dwelt across the river from Prester John, or he might be the Israelite king that is Prester John, who has the what? Fountain of youth. And as we read right here, I'm going right back in, Alexander the Great. I mean, remember, let's just not get it twisted like we're going crazy and Alexander's all out of nowhere. We also have this link to get to that's comparing the time of Alexander with the time of Prester John and showing you the correlation between Alexander and Prester John right before your eyes. These parallels need to be studied, discussing the literature motive, analyzing more parables, and so on. However, the fact that the author of these letters of Prester John knew the romance of Alexander's stories that originated in antiquity shows the dependence of the latter story on the earlier one and enhances the conclusion reached above concerning the geographical site of Prester John, India, not Ethiopia. Getting warmer. Now we say, which India? Which India? I mean, are we talking India, modern day India? He's called Prester John of the three Indias, right? And just like we got before, on your left shoulder bone. Right up on your left shoulder bone. Yeah. Man, it's a lot of dropping here. I'm going to get into this Ebed Melech. Whoa. I got to get back in there. I mean, we're only talking about Prester John, Johannes, Presbyter Johannes. He's calling them the tribe of Levites. If there is indeed a Jewish ancestry or Israelite ancestry buried in the legendary personality of Prester John, we're going to get into this foundational legend like we got into the Mosaic foundational legend. We'll be back into the Mazakas. Then he is a significant symbol not only of more favorable aspects of the Judeo-Christian relationship, right? Israelite relationship in the Middle Ages, but also the peculiar complexities of the emerging racial complexities. All right. Let's just get that, actually. Let the Most High work, man. All right. Of the Renaissance, for if his remotest Ethiopian origins have a Jewish coloration, we're just talking Prester John, a Israelite coloration, his most up-to-date Ethiopian image in the 15th century had, as we have seen, a black one. We know it ain't black, right? That's destitute of light. Right? The definition of black is destitute of light. The definition of black is what? Absurdly wicked. So we know we're not talking about absurdly wicked Prester John. We're talking about copper color Prester John. Israelite Prester John. We can thereby see in all its richness the tolerance implied in the vision of Prester John. Although Eldad and his fellow Danites, apparently, in their time, did not have to be black to be Ethiopian. They don't have to be black to be Ethiopian, which means what? You could be Ethiopian or Abyssinian and not be black? Whoa. An anthropologically more sophisticated 15th century tended to take for granted that a king of Ethiopia could not have been any other color. But, at least for the length of a historical moment, the seekers of Prester John did not seem more perturbed by his black than by his Jewish aspect. So those that were seeking Prester John did not seem more perturbed by his black aspect, but by his Israelite aspect. To the extent that his blackness was that of an Ethiopian, Prester John's emerging coloration had a long and not always unfavorable history in European eyes. It wasn't always unfavorable to be a black Hebrew Israelite to them, to the extent that his blackness was that of an Ethiopian, Abyssinian, Indian. John's emerging coloration had a long and not always unfavorable. So at some point it was favorable in Europe. What? That means we need to get into Europe and Russia and Georgia and Mosaka, right? It seems it should be pointed out that, like the geographical term Ethiopia, the anthropological one Ethiopian, were in ancient and medieval times thoroughly ambiguous. Thoroughly ambiguous. Thoroughly ambiguous. That means general, like it covered a large variation. Remember, Indian, dark-skinned races, regions way over here in these many islands, it's ambiguous. When they referred to someone from a specific region, they were close to our modern usage, even though that region, which began in the Upper Nile and had its capital at Meroe, sometimes stretched southward and eastward as far imagination would allow, as far as the imagination would allow. But Ethiopian, look at this. But Ethiopian served to designate color. It is not a place, but it was served originally just as a color. So if they were dark-skinned, like the Indian, dark-skinned India, dark-skinned people, any people with dark copper-colored skin were Indians of one of the three Indies, as well as Ethiopian. This is an Egyptian or a Greek terminology. And that general ambiguous Greek terminology designated color, my people, before it came to be applied to a region, my people. The Greek Ethiopian Greek Aethiops, from which it is derived, literally meant burnt face and referred to any person. Ethiopian is just Greek. Abyssinian predated that, which is why there is a separation between Ethiopian and Abyssinian. The Greek Aethiops, from which it is derived, literally meant burnt face and referred to any person of black complexion, whatever his place of origin. Whatever his place of origin, you're an Ethiopian if you have a burnt face. If you have a copper color complexion, right? Homer said of the Ethiopians that they live at the ends of the earth. Where did they find you in 14 such and such what? They thought they would fall off the earth, right? Because they, couldn't conceive anything past these particular lands, just like you can't conceive any more land past your Antarctic ice, but there is. Homer said that the Ethiopians that they live at the ends of the earth, some near the sunrise and some near the sunset. So Homer said that Ethiopians live at the ends of the earth. Negro, you are called an Ethiopian to them. Some near the sunrise and some near the sunset, west and the east. In later antiquity, the word tended to become restricted to black Africans. Later, they switched the game on y'all and said, oh no, that's Ethiopia there. So that you don't think about what's going on here and that you're Ethiopian here, because Ethiopian refers to what? They that live at the ends of the earth, some near the sunrise and some near the sunset. You only think Ethiopia is in the east, and I'm telling you it's also in the west. Cush is in the east and the west. Egypt's in the east and the west, but it started in the west. Atlantis was in the west. Mu was in the west. Or you can actually call it east, since they flipped our map upside down. So when they say east, sometimes that's exactly what they mean. That you've been flipped upside down and that the west is east and the east is west. In later antiquity, the word tended to become restricted to black Africans, meaning either of Negro or someone specifically from quote-unquote Ethiopia. The biblical term Cush and Cushi, which may have been specifically geographical designations from the outset, can be translated Ethiopia or Ethiopian respectively. And the ambiguity was thereby reinforced. So the ambiguity was thereby reinforced by now this terminology related to this geographic location. So let's go back. Now that we have a better understanding of this Ethiopia, we can go back to this King Alexander drop and get right back into it. Or actually, before we do that, let me get to what I really wanted. You see how rich this drop is, man. The three Indias. Okay, there we go. Remember, it says, in fact, the Prester John letter may, at least in part, have Jewish or Israelite roots in the desert that separates the mountains from the sandy sea, right? The San Banyan River that they call the Sabbath River. Why? The writer tells us an underground rivulet turns into a large river in which an abundance of precious stones is to be found beyond this river. Remember, he said Prester John lives beyond the river from the Great Khan. He goes on, are 10 tribes of Jews. 10 tribes, who though they pretend to have their own kings, are nevertheless our servant and tributary. So these 10 tribes are still paying tribute to who? Alexander, line of Judah, King of Kings. King David. Wouldn't King David have the other tribes pay tributary unto him, being King David, line of Judah? Wouldn't all the tribes pay tributary to Judah? If that's our theory, if we're going to go with that for a second. So these 10 tribes of Jews are paying tributary. Nothing more on the subject is said in the original version of the letter, but it is noteworthy that in the embroidered versions produced by later generations, this passage is among the ones that underwent the greatest amplification. So they amplified this passage later. Why? In an English version, 1507, for example, the weak kings of the above passage became a great king of Israel, whom Prester John concedes. So, this is their remix. So now Prester John is saying, oh man, this is a great king who's twice as strong as I am. His dominions are twice as good than all the Christendom in Turkey. So this was the 1507 hijack of Prester John. Now he's saying that he's across from a great king. When in before, he just said that, hey, beyond this river of me are 10 tribes that pay tribute to me. And then they flipped it to, oh, there's a great king over there that is twice as strong as I am. So that's the hijack, clearly. When we go right back into the three Indias, the later concept became a standard one of the Middle Ages. One of the three Indias faced Ethiopia. So one India faced, quote unquote, Ethiopia. According to the pseudo-Abdiyas, the second faced Persia. So one faced Iranistan, Persia. And the third occupied the ends of the earth, Ethiopia, ends of the earth, dark skin, ends of the earth, Indian, ends of the earth, America. To them, ends of the earth. They found you, so-called Negro, in the ends of the earth, the islands west, beyond the partition, between the ocean and the realm of darkness. That they're calling the realm of darkness to them might be the realm of light to you. They call it the realm of darkness, might be the realm of light to you. You flip it. So this third India became especially fruitful for the geographical imagination in the region of untold islands, in which the plural term Indias etymologically one and the same as Indies, people of the Indies. Indias is Indies. So Prester John of the three Indias is Prester John of the Indies. Let's go. Water break. It's getting too true. It's getting trill spill. you guys are enjoying this vibe suite, man. I'm yelling. Y'all made me lose my voice. Yelling at my people. Love to Jay Stu, man. Support Jay. Support the family. Love y'all, man. We do this for you. Let's go. So into the isle entered King Alexander to see the matter, and when he saw their great faith and their truth that was among them, he said that he would not grieve them and bade them ask of him. So, you know, he's saying, man, what can I do for y'all, man? And they say, man, we don't need no riches. Let's go down. All right, so they was cool on the riches, and Alexander answered them that it was not in his power. Oh, okay. So they wanted immortality. That's how we got into the fountain of youth, right? Thereof. So let's go back. And they answered that he was rich enough that they had meat and drink to sustain the body. For the riches of this world that is transitory is not worth. All right. But if it were in his power to make them immortal, so they knew that this King David had the power of immortality, the fountain of youth, thereof would they pray him and thank him. And Alexander answered them and said that it's not of his power to do it, because he was mortal as they were. And then they asked him why he was so proud and so fierce and so busy for to put all the world under his subjection. So they said, man, if you ain't immortal, bro, like, how is it that the entire world is under your subjection? Prester John, Alexander the Great, King David. Why is the whole world under your subjection? Apparently it was. Right as thou were a god. So everyone's under you as if you were God. I can't make this up. This is just the travels of Sir John Navel. In the Middle Ages, right? And has no term of this life, neither day, ne hour, and willest to have all the world at thy commandment, that shall leave thee without fail, or thou leave it. And right as it hath been to other men before thee, right so it shall be to other after thee, and from hence shalt thou bear nothing. But as thou were born naked, right so all naked shall thy body be turned into earth that thou were made of. Wherefore thou shouldest think and impress it in thy mind that nothing is immortal, but only God that made the thing. By the which answer Alexander was greatly astonished and abashed, and all confused, and departed from him. So they jammed him up. They said, "He said, man, I'm gonna go ahead and blaze this way, player. I'm gonna go ahead and blaze over here, player, because I'm a little bit confused. I mean, you just said that, you know. And from thence shall thou bear nothing." And so did you curse me? Like, you saying I ain't gonna bear nothing? Or did you just give me a prophetic message? I'm confused, man. I'm gonna blaze this way, player. Alright. And albeit that these folks have not the articles of our faith as we have, so they're not Christians like us, nay less, for their good faith natural people. You are naturally, you have a natural order. No hijacks allowed. And for their good intent, I trow fully that God loveth them, and that God take their service to agree, right as he did of Job. That was a pagan. You might be calling pagan, that might be pagan. But, you know, somebody looked that up, pagan. And held him for his true servant. And therefore, albeit that there may be diverse laws in the world, yet I trow that God loveth always them that loveth him and serve him meekly in truth, and namely them that despise the vainglory of this world, as this folk do, and as Job did also. And therefore said our Lord by the mouth of Hosea the prophet, all right, and it's all that. And also in another place, all that. And also our Lord saith in the gospel, all that Latin, right? That is to say, that he had other servants than those that be under Christian law, and to that according the vision that St. Peter saw at Jaffa, how the angel came from him and brought before him diverse beasts. And all right, so they're going into all this diversity. Let's just go back. Let's go down a little bit, because I want to get a lot more. All right. Skip all this hijack. All right. So, and beyond these isles, there is another isle that is called Patan. All right, we're getting back into some drop. They folk of that country, nay, till not, nay, laboreth not the earth, for they eat no matter of thing, and they be of good color and of fair shape after their greatness. So they don't even eat? Hey, it's great. But the small be as dwarfs, but not so little as be the pygmies. These men live by the smell of wild apples. And when they go any far away, they bear the apples with them, for if they had lost the savor of the apples, they should die. Anan. So they need to smell the apples to live. They need be not full reasonable, but they be simple and bestial. After that is another island. So these are just islands of people who this Sir John Navel is dropping and how it relates to Prester John. Alright, stay the course. After that is another isle, where the folk be all skinned, rough hair. Okay. Rough hair. Coarse hair. Nappy hair. Black hair. Rough hair. Hair of wool. Rough hair. You know what smooth hair is? What's rough hair? So there's another island where the folk be all skin, rough hair. Alright. But in this case, these people has rough beasts, save only the face and the palm of the hand. Oh, okay. So let's keep going. So they're saying that their whole skin has a rough hair. These folk go as well under the water of the sea. Whoa. All right, so this got really weird. I'm thinking we're just talking about coarse hair, and then we keep reading it, and then we get into that their whole body is hair. These folk go as well under the water of the sea. So they go under the water of the sea, and they do above the land all dry, and they eat both flesh and fish all raw. All right, so yeah, just hang in there, y'all. This is the wave, and you're going to hear about crazy shit, but the truth sounds stranger than fiction in these times. And the isle is a great river that is well 2.5 miles breadth that is cleft. Bear more. All right, is this play? Is it play? All right. So, let's just get this. And from the river of 15 journeys in length, going by the deserts of the t'other side of the river, whoso might go it. For I was not there, but it was told us of them of the country that within these deserts were the trees of the sun and the moon. Interesting. So we have trees of the sun and the moon. Now we hear about pyramids of the sun and moon. So before they were pyramids of the sun and the moon, they were trees that spake to Alexander. So these trees were speaking to King Alexander or Prester John or David or you. Within these deserts were trees. Within these deserts were trees. Within the deserts were trees of the sun and the moon that spake to King Alexander and warned him of his death. And men say that the folk that keep these trees or those trees. Jay Stews with the trees. Teach me to be priest. He's dropping trees. I'm telling you, mountains of trees, and you're hearing right here that these trees were speaking to this King Alexander. And men say that the folk that keep those trees and eat of the fruit and the balm that groweth there live well 400 years or 500 years old. By eating of their sacred trees, they're living to be 400 and 500 years old because of the fruit, not the processed shit, not the baloney. Alright? By virtue of the fruit and of the balm, fruit and balm, research it, fruit. For men say that balm groweth there in great plenty and nowhere else save only at Babylon. And I have told you before, we would have gone toward the trees full gladly if we had might. But I trow that 100,000 men of arms might not pass those deserts safely. So they couldn't take their 100,000 man army. For the great multitude of wild beasts and of great dragons and of great serpents that be there, that slay and devour all that come amid them. In that country be many white elephants without number, and of unicorns. They got unicorns too, and lions, and many matters, and many of such beasts that I have told before, and of many other hideous beasts without number. Here we go. Many other islands there be in the land of Prester John. Okay. Oh, we're just talking about Prester John, King Alexander the Great. We haven't even got into it yet. I have like 20 more tabs that I was expecting to get to. But who am I kidding? This is only part 14 of the investigation of Prester John. I said this might be a 22-part series. Many other islands there be in the land of Prester John. So there's many islands of the Emperor of the Three Indias. Many islands. Atlantis is many islands. And many great marvels that were too long to tell all, both of his riches and of his nobleness. So here you have this Prester John coming into contact with these other islands and these people that are rocking the commandments. And he's like, well, yeah, I got, can I give you anything? And they're like, man, you know what I mean? So this was take it or leave it, man. All right. I try you know well enough and have heard say, wherefore this emperor is called Prester John. This emperor is clept Prester John, but nay less, for them that know not, I shall say you the cause. It was sometime an emperor there, that was a worthy and full noble prince, that had Christian knights in his company. Oh, Christian again, Nestorian. Alright, we're just talking about King David. As he hath, that is now. So it befell that he had great list for to see the service in the church among so-called Christian men, and then endured Christendom beyond the sea, all Turkey, Syria, Tartary, Jerusalem, Palestine, Arabia, Aleppo, and all the lands of Egypt. And so it befell that this emperor came with a Christian knight with him into a church in Egypt, and it was the Saturday in Whitsun week, and the bishop made orders. All right. Let me get to it. I'm going to try to cover some more stuff. All right. And then the emperor said that he would no longer be called or clept king and emperor, but priest. So this, all right, man. So he had asked the Christian knight what men of degree they should be that prelate had before him. And the knight answered and said that they should be priests. The Most High said, you're going to be a nation of priests. And then the emperor said that he would no longer be called king and emperor, but priest. And that he would have the name of the first priest that he would have the name of the first priest that went out of the church, and his name was John. And so evermore Sethens he is called or clept Prester John. King Alexander the Great. In his land be many so-called Christian or Israelite men of good faith and good law. Oh no, Christians say the law is done away with. And namely of them of the same country, and have commonly their priests that sing what they're calling their mass and all this little hijack stuff. So they have to try to claim these people, man, and try to be, this was their hope. This noble image was their hope. You, the last, what they call it, last noble image of the Negro. This black face was their hope against all the ass whooping they were getting by other copper colored people. Now, right quick. This is crazy. This is a little earlier. This is chapter 29. Of the countries and isles that be beyond the land of Cathay, and of the fruits there, and of the 22 kings enclosed within the mountains. 22 kings are enclosed in mountains? What do you mean, Cathay? We heard Tartaria, Cathay. Now shall I say, suingly, of countries and isles that be beyond the countries that I have spoken of. Wherefore I say to you, in passing by the land of Cathay toward the high end of India, toward Baccaria, men pass by a kingdom that men clept Caldelhe, that is full fair country, in their growth a manner of fruit, as though it were gores, and when it be ripe, men cut them in two, and men find within a little beast and flesh and bone and blood, and though it were a little lamb without wool, and men eat both the fruit and the beast. So there's a fruit with the beast, man, in it, man. Come on, this is crazy. And that is a great marvel, and the fruit I have eaten, although it were wonderful, but that I know well that God is marvelous in his works. And natheless I told them of a great marvel to them that is amongst us, that was of the Bernags. For I told them that in our country were trees that bear a fruit that become birds flying. So first you have a tree that has fruit, and men and men cut it open, and they find within a little beast, so some type of animal and flesh and bone. And then they heard about another fruit that when it's ripe, this fruit, were trees that bear fruit that become birds. And those that fell in the water live, and those that fall in the earth die anon. And they be right good to man's meat. And hereof had they as great marvel that some of them trowed it were an impossible thing to be. Like you right now think that's impossible. And that's what they're saying. Some people think it's impossible. No problem. I'm just giving you the drop. Now check this out. In that country be long apples of good savor. Long apples. Whereof be more than 100 in a cluster, and as many in another, and they have great long leaves and large, and 2 foot long and more. And in that country and other countries thereabout grow many trees that bear clove, glorfrays, and nutmegs, and great nuts of India, and of canal, and of other amongst, and many other spices. And there be vines that bear so many great grapes that a strong man should have enough to do to bear one cluster with all the grapes. So a strong man has to just take these big grapes apart. In that region be the mountains of Caspian, that men crept uber in the country. Between these mountains, the Jews, now here we go. Now, we talk about these mountains around the Caspian. All right, so this is crazy. I mean, not crazy, but this is the truth. The truth sounds stranger than fiction. We're going to keep saying that, man, because it does. The truth sounds stranger than fiction. Your truth, your myth sounds strange to you. Between those mountains, the Jews of 10 lineages be enclosed. 10 tribes, 10 lineages in these mountains in the Caspian, according to Sir John Mandeville. Between those mountains, the Jews, Israelites of 10 tribes be enclosed, lineages that men call Goth and Magog, and they may not go out on no side. Between those mountains, the Jews of 10 lineages be enclosed that men call Goth and Magog, and they may not go out on both sides. There were enclosed 22 kings with their people that dwelt between the mountains of Scythia. I don't know, man. I'm just reading. You take this and you dig on it. There, King Alexander or Prester John chased them between those mountains. So, Prester John chased Goth and Magog. Now, this person, Sir John Mandeville, he says these mountains or these Jews or these lineages be enclosed, that men call Goth and Magog, and they may not go out on those sides. So you tell me, there King Alexander chased them between those mountains, and there he thought for to enclose them through work of his men, but he saw that he might not do it and bring it to an end. He prayed to God of nature, Heya of nature, right? That he would perform that he had begun. And all were it so, and he was a pagan and not worthy to be heard. Yet God of his grace enclosed the mountains together. All right, so that they dwell all fast, locked and enclosed with high mountains on all sides, save only on one side, and that side is the Sea of Caspian. So everything's gridlocked except for this one little area. Now may some men ask, since that sea is on one side, wherefore go thy not out on the other side of the sea, for to go where that them liketh. So why can't they just get out and go where they like, if one side is open? But to this question I shall answer, the Sea of Caspian go out by the land under the mountain, and runneth by the desert at one side of the country, and it stretcheth unto the ends of Persia. Right. And although it be called a sea, it is no sea. And it touches to none other sea, but is a lake, the greatest in the world. So it's a lake on its own, and though they would put them into that sea, they and wist never where that they should arrive. So even if you put them in the sea, they ain't gonna arrive. Alright, I'm trying to read this with y'all. And also they can know language, but only their own, and no man knoweth but they, and therefore may they not go out. So only they know their language. Now this is interesting here. It says, and also ye shall understand that the Jews have no proper land of their own for to dwell in all the world, but only that land between the mountains. So these particular folks, these particular Jews or Israelites, now they're calling them Gog and Magog, or am I tripping? This is one person's journey, who knows? And yet they yield tribute for that land to the Queen of Amazonia. So these tribes, these 22 kings are paying tribute to the Queen of Amazonia? The which that maketh them to be kept in close full diligently, that they shall not go out on no side, but by the coast of their land, for the land marcheth to those mountains. Man, All right. So you got this Queen of Amazonia playing. You got, again, we're bringing up these dragons. Amazonia. Let me skip down a little bit to here. We'll go back. Now, and yet, nonetheless, men say they shall go out in the time of the Antichrist. So here we got this Antichrist. We ain't talking Revelation. Or are we? And they that shall make great slaughter of Christian men. So these 22 kings. Now let's go back up a little bit. And that straight passage, men clept in that country Cliron. And that is passage that the Queen of Amazonia maketh to be kept. And though it happens, some of them by fortune to go out, so some people do go out, they can no matter of language but Hebrew. So they can only speak Hebrew. These 22 kings in this kingdom that is within these mountains. So they cannot speak to the people. And yet, unless men say that they go out in time of the Antichrist, and that they shall make great slaughter of Christian men. So their legend is saying that these 22 kings is going to come out of this Caspian mountain one day in the time of the Antichrist and slaughter Christians. This is what it's saying. And make great slaughter of Christian men. And therefore all the Jews or Israelites that dwell in all lands learn always to speak Hebrew, in hope that when the other Jews go out, or Israelites go out the mountain, that they may understand their speech and to lead them into Christendom, or what they're calling Christendom, for to destroy the Christian people. So whatever this Christendom that they're talking about is going to be to destroy the Christian people. For the Jews say, so again, so they're speaking Hebrew so that they can lead these people out the mountain, these 22 kings and 8 people, into Christendom, for to destroy the Christian people. For the Jews say that they know well by their prophecies that they of Caspia shall go out and spread throughout all the world, and that the Christian men shall be under their subjection. I'll take you into captivity, whose captivity you were in. That who is your captor will be your captive. Isaiah 14, right? Men shall go under these Christian men are going to be subjugated by this tribe of Israelites, as long as they have been in subjection of them. So you'll take those into captivity, whose captives you were. And if that you will wit how. So if you're going to ask how they're going to find their way, after that I have heard say I should tell you. In the time of the Antichrist, a fox. In the time of the Antichrist, a fox. In the time of the Antichrist, a fox shall make there his train, and mine and hole where King Alexander let make the gates. So we're getting back into the mythology of this Alexander that we're going to get back into, in this link. We got the Mazaka link. Oh, man, we got some good stuff I wanted to get to. All right. Let's go. So, in the time of the Antichrist, a fox is going to make there his train, and mine a hole where King Alexander let make the gates, and so long he shall mine and pierce the earth, till that he shall pass through towards his folks, and when they see the fox, they shall have great marvel of him, because that they saw never such a beast, for all of other beasts they have enclosed among them. Save only a fox. So they have enclosed in the mountain all beasts but this fox. That they're going to see this fox in the time of the Antichrist. I just flow with it. And then they shall chase him and pursue him so straight, till that he come to the same place that he came from. And then they shall dig and mine so strongly, till that they find the gates that King Alexander, or Prester John, let make of great stones. Right? He lives across the river of stones, the San Benyan, and passing huge, well cemented, and made strong for the mastery. and those gates they shall break, and so go out by finding out that issue. From that land go men towards the land of Baccaria, where be full evil and full cruel. In that land be trees that bear wool trees, and people make the wool up trees. All right, let's get the rest of this. And be rivers of water bitter. In that country be griffins more plenty than any other. All right, some men say that they have the body upward as an eagle and beneath as a lion. All right, and truly they say sooth. Truly they say sooth that they be of the shape, but one griffin have the body more great and more strong than 8 lions, and such lions as to be of this half. This sounds like Daniel, right? And more great and stronger than the 100 eagles, such as we have amongst us. For one griffin there will bear flying to his nest a great horse, if he may find him at the point, or 2 oxen yoked together, as is this play, man? Dig on it. 2 oxen yoked together as they go at the plow, for he had this talent so long and so large and great upon his feet, as though they were horns of great oxen and of bugles, or of the kind, so that the men make cups of them to drink of, and their ribs and their pins and their wings men make bows full strong to shoot with arrows and quarrels. From thence go men from the many journeys from the land of Prester John, the great emperor of India, and men called his rim the Isle of Pentecostal. So men are calling the rim of Prester John the Isle of Pentecostal. And if you remember, in the Isle of Pentecostal, in this separate source here, the Cipher of the Monks, a Forgotten Number Notion of the Middle Ages by David A. King. We have the range from Greek, corrupt Hebrew, Persian, Chaldean, Tartarus, Cathayan, to an incredible production called Pentecostal, the language of Prester John's empire. Navel. So we're getting this source backing up this Navel source of this Pentecostal, which of course is going to go right into your Voynich manuscript, Indian, Hebraic, Germanized, right? But this Georgianized, not Germanized, Georgian, Pentecostal, right? And the sister, Sensei Ray Fox, great sister, always truly amazing drop she's giving. She said colored equals color red, reddish, ruddy, Colorado, name for the river, Rio Grande, ruddy, river, colored. Then she got down here in our language, chola equals chula, pronounced shaula, which means fox. I don't know what the other part of his name means, so she's breaking down the Raja, her Raja Chola, and saying that means fox. I said, what you mean, fox tribe? You said, yeah, but that also means advisor or chief. If you remember, he's called son of Raja Hiraja Chola II, Jadaran, exilarchs, Babylonian kings, Jewish, Israelite kings. So we're talking about King David. And we're talking about Raja Hiraja Chola. Raja Hiraja Chola. Raja Hiraja Chola, which means fox. And how this correlates to this fox we're getting. Jadaran, Emperor of Soliman, Prester John, Pandion. Across the river from the Sambanyan. It's a beautiful thing when you agree. So, we're going to make our dismount in a couple minutes. We're going to get into this next time. This Alexander connection, the Hebrew letters. We're going to get into this Prester John, man. And how this connects. I'm just going to save it for next time. Oh yeah. I wanted to get all this, man, but Next time we'll get this too. We'll get back to the Mozak. Mozak the founder. And how this Mozak is this Mozaka, which is your Turkey, your Khazaria, right? Your first Roman Empire situation. Mozak, the founder of the Cappadocians, Mozak. Alright, so we're gonna get to the Mozaka. Why? Because it was originally Mozaka. Alright. This Khazaria, Mozaka. Later it was called Eusebia by Eusebius. Alright, Eusebius, King Eusebius. Alright. We're gonna get into that. So it was later named Eusebius, didn't turn into Khazaria and all this kind of stuff. And we're just talking about Mozaka from Mosek, Japheth. Now he's being hidden. We dropped this before. He's been hidden in this seed of Japheth. Much of the modern Russia, parts of the modern Georgia, and the Caucasus region, Huns, ancient Mozaka, Mosak, Moshi, Moscow reflects the old name. Possibly migration as far as South American. Possibly the Moshe and cultures in South America in the now dead Moshika languages in Peru.